The title is based on Homer's The Odyssey. On their way home from the Trojan War, Odysseus and his crew are blown onto the shore of the island of the Lotus Eaters. There, the crew partake of the lotus flower that everyone eats and become so intoxicated that they forget about ever returning home. Arriving in Taipei with only $100, the author sets out on a last hurrah to find both a great kung fu master and enlightenment, but soon becomes one of the modern lotus eaters, expats from all over the world that have become so intoxicated by the exotic lifestyle of Taipei's underground that they forget about ever returning home. What begins as a quest for meaning descends into hedonism and ends in a classic Greek tragedy of madness, murder, and suicide. Set in Taipei in the mid-'80s, Memoir of a Lotus Eater is a series of interconnected character studies of expatriates and their interactions with local peoples. In his travels, the author encounters a diverse host of little-known characters that include showgirls, triad bosses, nightclub owners, Vietnam vets, prostitutes, drug smugglers, kung fu masters, murderers, movie stars, diplomats, and business executives. Not your typical travel memoir. Memoir of a Lotus Eater is a gritty, true-life view of obscure and little-known backwaters of exotic culture. During the Korean and Vietnam War eras, Sugar Daddy Row was the favorite R&R destination for U.S. servicemen. 4 square blocks of high-rise office buildings and hotels that at night transformed into an underground world of discos, pubs, girly bars, barber shops, and massage parlors. At its heart was an all-night food market that served everything from Shanghai noodles to deep-fried fish balls cooked on propane-powered pushcarts. The few times I found myself there during daylight hours, I hardly recognized the place. It was the same melange of nondescript concrete and tile offices, apartments, gift stores, boutiques, interspersed with travel agencies and video shops you'd find anywhere in Taipei. But at night, the neon would light up the area like a Las Vegas strip. The panorama of electric color hid the city's ugly exterior and bathed the mundane in magnificence. Steel doors would roll up to reveal swank girly clubs like the Blue Moon, whose walls were covered in blue velvet and stainless steel, and the Charlie Brown, whose interior sported the more traditional whorehouse decor of red velvet walls, pink fur couches, and black lights. Entering these establishments was like a fly entering a pitcher plant. At first, you are attracted by the flashing lights, the smells, the sweetness. Once inside, the sweetness turns sticky, and you are drawn ever deeper to be digested. Upon arrival, 2 or 3 stunningly attractive women will surround you like cats purring and rubbing up against your body. Some are dressed in the traditional Chinese qipao, satin-finished silk, skin-tight, and slit up the thighs to reveal a glimpse of stocking and garter against flawless flesh. Others in mini cocktail dresses, sequined and low-cut. They were designed to leave little to the imagination. They would wrap their arms around yours and whisper, "Hey, Mr. Handsome Man, you like to have a drink with me and my friend?" At the table, they would listen and giggle at everything you said. One would bend forward to afford you a better look at her breasts, while the other would cross her legs so that the skirt would ride up and you could see a hint of black lace panties. Their drinks always contained a cherry impaled on a little plastic saber. When it came time to suck the cherry off the stick, she would do so while looking you deep in the eyes, her hand sliding up your thigh under the table until it gently gripped your hardening manhood as her lacquered lips slid sensuously over the cherry. "Oh, I see you like me, Minna," she would purr as she stroked your hard-on through your pants. The few times I found myself in such places, I was always near broke. This was my salvation, because if I had any serious money at all, I would surely have spent every dime. But I'm a cheap Charlie. The barber shops were fronts for massage parlors of epic proportions. Our trio once visited as Mark's last hurrah before he left for Japan. One entered through a small door that featured little more than an old-style candy cane barber's pole illuminated by fluorescent bulbs and rotating within a clear tube. Once through the door, you were greeted with a Roman orgy of extravagance. The entrance lobby alone featured 20-foot ceilings, polished marble and brass inlaid floors, life-sized stainless steel palm trees, and a pair of plaster copies of the Venus de Milo. Gleaming marble, glass, and chrome reception desks were staffed by an army of immaculately made-up hostesses in identical blue cheapao uniforms. After registering at the front desk, you are led politely through the lobby to the dressing rooms, where you are given thick terry cloth robes, slippers, and towels. After changing, you are brought first to the showers, then to the hot sulfur baths, then the cold baths, then to the massage room, where professional male masseuses pounded tense, money-earning flesh into submission. Still dressed in the bathrobe, one had several choices for entertainment. You could watch the latest pirated American movie in a full-sized movie theater. Instead of the standard seating, this theater was outfitted with rows of reclining leather couches, complete with nightstands, small brass desk lamps, and telephones so that you could order drinks and food to be brought to you by bellboys in white jackets. Or you could go next door, where there was a piano bar with a small dance floor, lounge, and VIP rooms. Down another hallway was a large restaurant that served every type of food, from hamburgers to sushi. Finally, there are the private massage rooms, where giggling young girls dressed like nurses would offer their form of massagee, horse choke chicken, which is slang for a hand job. Less racy and expensive were pubs like the Crown and Anchor, the Ploughman, and the Noble House. These were quieter places where English and Australian expats would go to play darts and sop down imported beer, warm or cold. But the real action was in the underground discos and nightclubs like the Woodstock, the Gasworks, and the Green Door. They didn't start hopping until 3 a.m. and would go past dawn on any given night. Here, foreign students, trekkers, and expats mixed with gangsters, off-duty hostess girls, and entertainers. It was in these places that sex was available at no charge. I had been in country for about 2 weeks when I demanded that Bogo and Mark take me to whatever served as the club scene in the city so I could get laid. At first they hummed and hawed a bit. Then Mark said, "Should we take him to Shuangchongjie?" Bogo rolled his eyes and replied, "You think he's ready for it?" But before Mark could answer, I had guessed by the tone of the conversation that this place was the kind of trouble I sought. "Yeah, that's the place. Let's go." Bogo was hesitant. "Maybe we should just go to the VFW or the Legion and see what's up there." "What's wrong with this other place? Shang Chung something?" I asked, almost pleading. "Well, it's a little seedy," answered Mark. "A lot seedy," added Bogo derisively. "Seedy can be good. Don't knock seedy." "It's a bit dangerous. There's a lot of gangsters and hookers and stuff," added Bogo. "Sounds like my kind of people. Let's go," I persisted. "Okay, how about we first head out to the VFW, and if nothing's happening there, we go downtown," decided Bogo. Mark took charge and hailed a taxi at the end of our alley. It was then that we went to the place I would come to know and love the best in Taipei. We stepped out of the cab during a lull in the rain and went into one of the English-style pubs called the Crown and Anchor. There are as many Crown and Anchor pubs as there are St. Mary's churches. The decor was typical of the name. We sat at a table and ordered beers. I scanned the interior and quickly zeroed in on a Chinese woman sitting at the bar. This was easy since she wore a blue sequined miniskirt, red sequined halter top, and a white bolero jacket. She caught my eye as I stared at her, and I noted a slight smile cross her face. I broke off the gaze first, not wishing to seem too obvious. I was playing laid back. I always felt that guys that had "fuck me" written all over their faces looked like assholes. "Bingo," said Bogo. "What's that mean?" "You're gonna get laid, son." "What, just like that?" "Just like that. She looked right at you. Now all you have to do is go up and ask her to go home with you." "What, is she a hooker?" I thought it a dumb question too, but I wanted to hear details. "Probably, but if she is, she isn't working now, and you wouldn't have to pay for it." "Why is that?" "Because Chinese hookers like Western men." "Why is that?" I said, continuing my childishness. "Because we give them orgasms," said Mark. "No, because they think all Americans are rich," said Bogo. "Or maybe they're looking for a green card." I offered my own explanation. "No, it's because here we are the exotic ones," said Mark, waxing philosophical. "We're the strange, the wicked, the erotic. Most of these girls work as hostesses. They're already considered wicked, so how much more devilishly wicked could you get than to sleep with a barbarian?" "Oh, like how white strippers always have black boyfriends." "Yes, like that. Here, we're the white of Asia," confirmed Mark, lifting a finger thoughtfully to attract the waitress's attention. "Yes, that's true too," said Bogo. There was another reason I would later find out, and that was that many of the girls who cruised for guailos, devils, serviced Japanese clients. Since Chinese despised Japanese and vice versa, Chinese girls who worked with Japanese were considered unclean by the rest of their society. Only young, horny Westerners didn't care whether or not they jerked off Japanese or Chinese dicks. So I go up and ask her to come home with me, and I won't be charged money. I wanted to confirm this heavenly revelation. Just then, the lyrics of a popular song broke through as if to confirm the conversation's conclusions. "Money for nothing and your chicks for free." We all laughed in unison at the timing. I did as Bogo instructed. At closer range, I could see she wasn't as attractive as she appeared from a distance, but not unattractive either. Her face was flat, and her jaw was slightly too heavy for her face, which gave her a hard look. I brazenly asked her to come home for a drink. She wasn't embarrassed by the question, but politely refused. Bogo had told me to expect to be refused twice, but not the third request. The first time was for face. The second time was to play hard to get. But then, it's to hell with the dance and down with your pants. She finally agreed on my third request. I signaled the boys I was heading off, and they smiled and raised their beers in salute. We were about to leave when a stout East Indian accountant stepped in front of me and demanded to know where I thought I was going with this woman. "Why, did you already pay for her or something?" I asked, wondering if they were both trying to pull a variation of the old con known as the room key hustle, which is where an attractive woman gives you a key and tells you to meet her at a room in a few minutes. The mark walks in to find a couple of toughs who claim to be her brothers, and you have to pay to escape. It works because the marks, usually married men, don't want to tell the police, and then their wives they were picking up hookers in a bar. "No, I arranged to meet her here," said the accountant. I turned to the object of contention. "Who do you want to go with, him or me?" "You, of course." "But of course," I thought to myself in a French accent. "If you don't let her go, we'll have to step outside," said the serious clerk, sweat drops forming on his bald head. He was a full foot shorter, older, and obviously out of shape. He stood before me like a terrier guarding a bone. Then the whole situation hit me. I was going to get into a barroom brawl over a Chinese hooker, just like in the movies. I thought it was so cliché and comical that I couldn't help but laugh. I patted the man affectionately on the shoulder and said, "You're very brave, but I'm sure there are other girls around. There's no need for anyone to get hurt." He looked a bit shocked. He had been drinking, and it had given him enough Dutch courage to risk a fight. I guess he thought fighting a big American over a hooker would make a good story to tell the other clerks back home too. But he hadn't expected to be laughed at. We left without further incident. I turned to see him standing motionless, watching as we walked out the door. I don't remember the woman's name, how many times we had sex, or what excuse I used not to see her again. It didn't matter. I was like a tiger that had tasted human flesh and found it agreeable, plentiful, and easy to come by. Since I knew how to get there on my own, the next few trips to Sugar Daddy Row I made alone. The weather was beginning to get warmer, and the 1 month of cold weather that passed for winter was now giving way to clement conditions. Several of the bars were opening their patios. I strolled up and down the streets and back alleys so as to familiarize myself with the environment. Sun Tzu wrote that a general must know his territory, and I always made it a point to explore any area I was frequenting. In this way, you learned about little stores or bars that were off the beaten track. You learned where the good hiding places were in case you wanted to mug someone or avoid being mugged. You also learned the escape routes, where to run in case of fire, police, or triads. After a month, I could have been blindfolded, and I would still have been able to find my way around by smell alone.